Well, it was a good chapter start to finish. However, I tell you, the somber down note that it sort of ended on just doesn't sit right with me. Oof.
Gourmet number 48, The Worst Encounter.
Wow. Whew. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome, the awe-inspiring, sometimes a bit saddening tale of Toriko. Our last chapter, of course, saw us with Sonny, squaring off against the GT robot and, really being able to kind of take him out, obviously, by utilizing some great tactics and things like that. And the chapter ended up with this thing's core being pretty much crushed and, strangled, I guess you would say, by Sonny's strands of hair that he was able to get into the core. And that's how the chapter ended. The chapter picks up right there, and the GT robot's like, how the hell did you, get your strands of hair in there? And then, Sonny tells me, he says, my hairs are like 0.1 micron thick, they can get into pores, And he's like, if that's the case, why didn't you just do that earlier, right? And Sonny's like, well, isn't it obvious? Because I didn't want to put my hair, my hands, basically, my sensors inside of your disgusting body. I'm just like, oh my God, really? Really? This whole thing wore on for as long as it did because you didn't want to get your hands dirty? But anyways, the GT robot's down. And Sonny's sitting there and he's pooped, man. He's just like, whew, kind of sits down and then he's all angry because he's like, oh, someone hit my face, and this is the moneymaker for Sonny, right? Anyway, so he's kind of sitting there just relaxing and trying to catch his breath. And all of a sudden, because if you remember, the mammoth is trying to expel all the foreign entities from its body from a couple chapters back with Toriko and Komatsu and Rin when they were kind of running through various areas. So all this stuff starts kind of flying at him and some of those mollusk snail things, and everything else. And he goes, next thing you know, man, he's just, he's flying with him. So then it goes and it takes us to Coco outside of the Regal Mammoth. And Coco, of course, last time we saw him, he was just flat laid out on the ground. He pretty much just from a distance watched Starjun, go up in the mammoth's ass or whatever he did. And, or however he entered, let's put it that way. And Coco over here is, so now he's sitting there and it looks like he's eating. He's back up to his feet, so, kind of still out of it, but he's regaining some strength. He's got a lunchbox and some food, And anyway, he goes and he sees the mammoth like blow all his shit out of its mouth or its trunk or whatever, what have you. And he's like, Sonny, and so he tells Kiss, go get him, So Kiss, and goes and gets him or whatever and, grabs him. And Sonny's like, oh my God, Kiss, you've gotten so big. So he comes, brings him back, and, he's sitting there and he's holding his hands over his face. He's like, I did not run away. I did not get beat up. I just fell really hard, because he's like, I think he's embarrassed because his face got a little fucked up. But, Coco is sitting there and he's just like, I see the shadow of death. We have to regroup over here and we have to, go back in and help them out. I see the shadow of death over somebody. And Sonny's like, so, and Sonny basically what he breaks down for him is he's like, listen, Toriko went and we did our jobs, okay? And when he, his job, what he said he was going to do, and he was delegated himself to do, was to go get the jewel meat and take care of whatever he needed to do with that. We have to have faith in the strength of our friends. And I mean, how wouldn't it be like a slap in the face if we went in there to help him when he didn't need it? So I kind of understand Sonny's point because it's kind of like that warrior's mentality, this is my opponent, I will take him out, But everybody can use a hand sometimes, and honestly, all three of them are pretty worn down right now, and this Starjun-controlled GT robot that's in there about to mess things up, it wouldn't hurt to have 3 out of the 4 kings in there busting some ass. Just my personal opinion. But anyway, we'll get to that one later. So, so that's they kind of agree to disagree or whatever, it just sort of leaves them out there just chilling, and we find out that Kiss brought him some food in the lunchbox for Coco because Coco's like, eat up, and Sonny's like, I deserve a break, and so they're just kind of sitting there hanging for right now. We don't really know what's going to happen because one was in one camp on it and one was the other in the other camp, so we don't really know, and I mean that like metaphorically, they're right next to each other, but I mean way of thinking, one of them's like, we should go in, and one of them's like, no, we should just stay here and let it play out. So it then goes and takes us for the latter half of the chapter inside the Regal Mammoth, and we see an area that Rin, Komatsu, and Toriko have gotten to, and like I said, Coco he's sure that the shadow of death is hanging over and that somebody in Toriko's crew is going to wind up being killed. losing their life over this. So, or during this battle. So anyway, you're in this nice area in the cavern, and Komatsu's just like, oh my, the cavern, the inside of the mammoth, and Komatsu's like, oh my god, where are we now? It's so bright in here. And Toriko's like, well, we must be getting very close to the jewel meat, because that's the reflection of it. They call it the jewel meat because the stuff just shines, man. It's just like, oh, it's just like that aura coming down of light on it, and it sparkles and shines and shit. And I tell you, man, it just makes you hungry. Jewel meat doesn't exist, but it makes me want to go buy like a T-bone and a porterhouse and a ribeye and a sirloin and throw some butt steak on there on top of it, maybe a little chopstick, whatever, And I just want to cook all that shit up on the grill and just eat it, and become like 5-10 pounds heavier and maybe take a whole year off of my life, But anyway, though, it definitely is a neat thing. It makes you hungry for these fictional, food items that don't really exist in real life. But you're like, I wish they did. My mouth is watering, So anyway, they're walking along over there, and then all of a sudden Toriko kind of like senses, and you see on this, this splash page, is what I like to call them, a double page spread. It's the top half of it, and you see coming around the corner is the Starjun controlled GT robot, right? This thing is just black as death, and it just looks like it's like the evil Marlboro man. It looks like it's been smoking cigarettes since birth, it's just all covered in the dark. But it's just the way the shading and everything is done, and it just looks like this ominous shadow of death, angel of death type of thing, Comes around the corner, and Toriko is just like, oh shit, he turns, he's like, Komatsu, run! And as he does it, he goes and pulls his oral beast thing out, he just, and it's just this giant, and he's run, Komatsu! Komatsu's eyeballs pop out of his head, he's like, fucking, oh! And he's trying to take off, right? Rin's trying to do whatever she can over there. Toriko goes and he's just like, oh, and he comes up and he's just like, oh, damn it, fivefold, and he goes to hit him, with his kugi punch or his spike punch or whatever we're gonna call it these days. But anyway, he just starts up with the fivefold, and then in the next thing, the next instance, you see the GT robot got the jump on him, and it looks kind of like they jacked each other up, like they actually hit each other. So I think Toriko didn't get in his full fivefold punch, but he was able to get, some of it in, I think, or maybe at least part of the impact of it in. But anyway, Toriko goes flying, against the wall in the cavern, and just, he's fucked up, right? And the GT robot actually kind of goes and is like, oh, he actually managed to hit me, and it's so surprising, that type of thing or whatever. Like basically he just shook it off, he took this hit. So then Rin goes and pulls out, she's got that gun, and she's got all the different fragrance things. She's the fragrance master, or I call her the perfume chick. And she's all of a sudden, she's like, I think it's called, what is it called? Bazooka? What did you wind up using? Yeah, there we go. Fragrance Bazooka. That's actually what I was going to call it. And she's just like, Fragrance Bazooka! And goes to nail this thing. The GT robot goes and is so fast, so it closes the distance between the two, whether it's 5 or 10 meters, feet, I don't know. But all of a sudden, he is just face to face in her personal space, right? She wishes Toriko was this close to her right now, but unfortunately, it's not. So, panties are not going to be wetting today, at least for her. They might be, but she's probably going to have pissed herself instead of love juices, But anyway, again, we're getting a little bit too deep into things there. So he winds up going and taking, and now, man, it's so tough with this, to get really wrapped up and think. But this is still, he just runs her right through. And I'm thinking maybe she's the one with the shadow of death hanging over. But then I also remember several chapters back when they explained about the gourmet cells, that Rin actually is one of them that has been a recipient of the gourmet cells. So I'm hoping that she can just, eat some food and hopefully be able to regenerate and what have you over here. But it definitely doesn't look good. And it's just to what it is just an exclamation point on this Starjun controlled GT robot and how bad, quick, evil, whatever you want to say, powerful that it is, because it just closes the gap, runs her through. Komatsu's like, oh shit, and then Toriko is just laid out in the corner, man. And that's how the chapter ends. That's how everything ends. And I got to get done with this so I can read the next chapter over here. Boy, woo! Oh man, I'm loving it. All right, so my chapter question though is, my chapter question is, and it goes back to the beginning of the chapter, what are your thoughts on the argument, weigh in on the argument that Sonny and Coco were having. Do you think that they should go in and help Toriko and company? Because, hey, listen, man, we're brothers till the end, that type of thing. Or do you think it's more of a matter of, like, respect and, like, all right, we're just going to sit back and chill. He can take care of it. He's Toriko. He's a badass, Let me know what your thoughts are, brothers and sisters, in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button, if you should think that I deserve it. And then subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation.
If you like Star Wars, Boba Fett, or are just a fan of cool things in general, go on over to my Facebook and Instagram page and check out some of my other drawings.